Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the Exodus Americanus. If your mind is strong and your heart is pure, join us as we put our shoulders into the boulder of liberty in the eternal struggle against the mountain of tyranny.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Exodus Americanus. I am Stone. With me as always is Roscoe. Today we have quite a few topics we want to hit over. I think first and foremost is what do we want to call this? The importance of maintaining your shit.
Wild card weekend, bitches.
Every home team lost, and my personal team, the Bengals, embarrassed the hell out of me.
God, I wanted to cheer for the Bengals so bad. I hate the Steelers. I can't hear a mention of Ben Roethlisberger's name without imagining somebody, guarding the door for him so he can rape someone.
And people were getting pissed that the fans were throwing shit at Roethlisberger when he was getting carted off, but I mean, that's what rapists deserve. They deserve to be. I mean, it'd be like if he was out in the pillories.
I do think that he, in the streets, as Ben Roethlisberger, the citizen, I certainly believe that he deserves to be pelted with rocks. But on the field of competition, it's hard not to respect Ben Roethlisberger. My first exposure to him was in a bowl game against the University of Louisville when the University of Louisville was still in the Conference USA. And Roethlisberger.
And they played Miami of Ohio. Yeah, I remember that game.
And we had this linebacker. I can't remember his name. His nickname was the Hammer. He had just destroyed Conference USA that year. And I remember him hanging off of Ben Roethlisberger's arm like it was a jungle gym. And I thought, holy shit, this guy is next level. And whether it's his personal life or professional life, the guy never gives up. Doesn't take no for an answer.
Funny thing about that game, too, is after that game, A.J. McCarron, who was like 10 at the time, he met Roethlisberger after the game, and Roethlisberger gave him like a bracelet or something like that. And then, they ended up playing against each other twice this year. Because Dalton went down during the second Bengals-Steelers game. And so McCarron came in, and then obviously he started and should have won yesterday. But players can't keep their shit together. Vontaze Burfict acting a fool, and Adam Jones doing the same.
I mean,
it was embarrassing. I know I was messaging you during the last stages and after that, and I felt like somebody in my family had died. That's how much it just got swept from out underneath of me.
Like the reason that I've got a lot of you and I were talking before we started recording about sort of me playing football and stuff in the past, and from what we've talked about, my history and everything, I think you understand why football holds such an important place in my heart. But to see how those guys were acting today, I was embarrassed for them. Well, I guess it was yesterday.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, they cost the city, the franchise, the team. I mean, I feel like if, Dalton comes back, they're one of the better teams, one of the more complete teams out of the AFC. I felt like they could compete with anybody.
And McCarron did a damn good job.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvin Lewis really lost that game. After Burfict intercepted the Steelers there at the end of the fourth quarter. All of the Bengals the Bengals were already in there in Steelers territory. So all they had to do was kneel the ball 3 times, make Steelers use up their clock, kick a field goal, and then you're up by 4. I think that's what it was at the time. I don't recall the last score or whatever, but no, they give it to Hill, who runs up the middle and coughs it up. I feel so bad for him.
Well,
But what they
even
should have done,
after-
yeah, if they didn't kneel it, give it to Rex Burkhead. Jeremy Hill has the fumble issues. Rex Burkhead holds onto that ball like it's his.
But even after the fumble, they still should have been able to, like, they were keeping the Steelers out of field goal range as the clock was expiring.
Yeah.
And bang, bang. What was it, 30 yards worth of penalties?
Yep. 2 personal fouls. Perfect on
Turns
that
it
hit.
into a chip shot.
And then Adam Jones pushing the ref. And like I said, the topic of this was the importance of keeping your shit together. Because those two guys could not keep their shit together, they cost the team another year without a playoff win. I mean, this is 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Maddening.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done with Cincinnati sports, man. Next year, 2016, I'm just taking off.
Come root for the Patriots with me. It's so good.
I might.
It's so good. All right, but you think about that, like these guys. That's such a big stage to be competing on. Most of the households in America are tuned in and paying attention to this.
It was a record. It was what 28 million people watched the game yesterday. I don't know if that's a record, but I mean that's got to be for a wild card game, and especially for a Saturday night game. I mean, Saturday night is not prime time viewing for anything.
Oh my God! To just you hear about guys, talking about guys that maintain their composure. There's a story about Tom Brady, and you remember his senior year, there was this hotshot Michigan star by the name of Drew Henson that was nipping at his heels and actually started over Brady a few games that year. Started over Brady against Ohio State in the Horseshoe. Ohio State had taken the lead, I think 21-7. And they pull Henson, put Brady in. Brady gets him back in. Fourth quarter, field goal doesn't do shit. Got to score to win. They got a TV timeout. Everybody, everybody is so tight. Couldn't drive a 10-penny nail up their ass with a sledgehammer, as my grandpappy would say. Brady walks to the huddle during the TV timeout and asks one of the offensive linemen, says, "Hey, did your girlfriend come to the game today?" It's like, "Yeah, Tommy, she always comes to the game." "Who's that guy up there with his arm around her?" And everybody laughs. Everybody sort of chills out, and they go down. They beat Ohio State. And that was a big time, huge moment. That's sort of a leadership skill that you can't really quantify, something like that. Like, how do you measure that in an NFL combine?
Wonderlic score.
The Wonderlic. Now, do you think we could pull up Adam Jones' Wonderlic score?
Probably.
If I could spell, what is it, Vontez Burfict or whatever?
Vontez Burfict. I'll look him up if you look up Adam Jones.
Adam Jones.
If you can't spell that, then we can't do this anymore.
Adam Jones' score of 13.
That's pretty low for a corner, I feel.
19-21 is about average for corners, and that is about the average score that a firefighter gets. Adam Jones is a 13. I think Tom Brady was a 35. And, it's kind of, when you think about it a little bit more, the Wonderlic is, it's illegal to do IQ tests because them's racist.
Of course.
But the Wonderlic, I feel like, is a pretty good indicator of IQ. And IQ is a pretty good indicator of impulse control. And being able to maintain your shit in that kind of a situation, I feel like is a good, good measure, a good indicator, a good display of low impulse control. Like Calvin Johnson has like one of the highest Wonderlic scores of guys playing today. Like, I don't want to misquote it, so I'm gonna actually look it up.
I think it was 41. Vontaze Burficts is not applicable. It's got his height, his weight, his arm length, his hand size is not applicable. Then he's got his 40-yard dash time, his 20-yard dash, his 10-yard dash, his vertical leap, his broad jump. But bench press, 20-yard shuttle, 3-cone, 60-yard shuttle, and Wonderlic are all not applicable. So I don't know what's going on there. I know he didn't get drafted because of his couldn't control his temper. And
now, isn't he the guy that kicked
drug.
the shit out of a stripper?
I don't know what he did.
Yeah, but Calvin Johnson, 41. You don't see Calvin Johnson losing his shit and like throwing punches, and I've seen him get down before. I've seen Calvin Johnson stub up on some DBs before.
Mm-hmm.
But I've not seen him do the kind of shit that basically wrecks an entire year's worth of work for hundreds of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 48. Ben Watson, a tight end. Is he even still in the league? I don't think so. Because this is from 2012, and I know he was playing then for the Browns, I think. But he had a 48. Kevin Curtis, he's not playing anymore, I don't believe. Wide receiver, 48.
Jeez.
Mike Mamula, he's definitely not playing. He's old. He had a 49. I think he has that. No? Pat McAnally had the highest at a 50.
A punter / wide receiver.
According to the Bleacher Report, he played for the Bengals from 1976 to 1885. So he played like negative 90 years.
And for anybody that wants to get like super racial about this, Bruce Eugene, an African American, 41. All right, dude got a 41 on the Wonderlic score. Brady got a 35.
Ben Watson's black, and he got a 48.
Calvin Johnson, 41.
Yeah, so I mean, this has nothing to do with race. It's just the people with the higher IQs are the
have
ones
better
you don't see. You
control.
You don't see any shit about them. I mean, Frank Gore got a 6.
Jesus Christ, what's Sebastian Janikowski get? Like a 5, 8?
Yeah.
Play down.
I think that article I read, it was like if they could train a gorilla to go out there and kick a football, they'd put him in. Talking about Janikowski.
All right, so are you ready for a crazy ass story?
I am.
Back in the day, I don't want to give too many details away, but there was a kicker in our district in high school. This is before I was actually playing high school ball. I think it was a junior high at the time. They had a kicker who in high school, Mr. Stone, could bang him in from 60.
Wow.
60 yards in high school. The bad news is, this kid was literally retarded.
Literally?
Yeah, literally. Like, he would have had the university in our state would have, like, they were doing everything they could. Like, anybody that knows anything about college athletics understands that everybody is breaking the rules or skirting the rules as close as possible.
But this was going way over the line.
And they still couldn't get this guy in. Still couldn't get him in. Like, at one point, I remember his coaches, like, just through the grapevine, I heard this story. They changed his picture in the yearbook to some other kid. And, like, basically they had to call the police because this kid lost his mind so hard.
Well, all you had to do was just wait 2 years out of high school, and he could have tried out for a team. I mean, you can't tell me that an NFL team wouldn't pick up a kid or a guy who could kick it 60 yards when he was 17 years old.
Like, it was so frustrating because, like we'd get a big stop or whatever, and normally like everybody else that we'd play all year long, like they'd be punting it, and these assholes come out line up for a freaking field goal
on their end side of the field.
Yeah, like there was one year that our running back had more offense than had more all-purpose. Our running back had more rushing yards than they had all-purpose yards, and they still won because of that friggin' kicker.
That's amazing.
Oh my god! Like I'm still angry about that.
He had a club foot.
Jeez, right?
Man, 60 yards at high school.
Like, I couldn't believe it when I saw him hit a 53-yarder against us. First time. Like, the first time they unveiled this kid's leg, nails it in for 53 yards. And this is small high schools in a very rural part of the country. This isn't like some big, like, Texas breeder program, like where all the kids go to Texas A&M and Texas and Oklahoma. Like, this is where the kids, like, get arrested for a few DUIs, go on welfare, and maybe work in the coal mines until they get black lung.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez. He didn't make it on the next level.
Yeah. That's a shame. I would like to see him when he gets, into his 20s, knocking in from 70.
Knocking it in from 70 yards. Dude can't spell his name.
It'd be real bad if his name was Sebastian Janikowski. He'd have no chance.
Jeez. Like, I just wonder if he was screwing around with people or if he really is that dumb. Hard to tell.
Yeah, well, at least he's not Blair Walsh today.
But speaking of impulse control, let's talk about New Year's.
Yeah, that's a good transition into our next topic. New Year's, Cologne, Germany. Well, actually, all over Germany, but I think the reports initially came out of Cologne.
All over Europe, it's turning out, as more and more of these reports are filed.
Groups of North African and Arab men like large groups of them were sexually assaulting female New Year's revelers.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. If you want to hear like a really good breakdown on this, check out Stefan Molyneux's SoundCloud account. Is it under
YouTube?
Stefan? Yeah, is it on Stefan Molyneux or is it under Free Domain Radio, or
Stefan? Just Google Stefan Molyneux and it'll take you to his YouTube page. That's all you need.
It's on there. Yeah.
Spelling Molyneux, I ain't got time for all that.
Molyneux.
Yeah. And the dude does a great job over there. Like, I'm not an anarcho-capitalist like he is. Like, completely against the state. Like, I'm pretty close. But the dude does amazing work. Like, throw that bro a few pennies. Like, throw him a few bucks.
Yeah.
And us.
And us. We need it more than he does right now.
Whew. Hopefully we can start put like Mike. If we put out better content than him, that's a good goal, right? So anyway,
always
Rape Fest in Europe.
Do we really want to go over the rape stuff, or do we want to do the aftermath?
Well, let's Is there a way to
brief
correlate?
overview?
Well, I want to help our transition. Is there a way to correlate a Wonderlic to an IQ score?
I don't know.
Ooh, American Minson LTD test score conversion tables.
That's what I got too when I first Googled it.
The Mensa Wonderlic.
Oh, is it? go a lot higher, I guess.
That's not helping at all.
No, that's a different Wonderlic score.
Yep.
Wonderlic Inc. claims a score of at least 10 points suggests a person is literate. So Frank Gore is illiterate. Sebastian Janikowski is
illiterate. But, so what would a 70 IQ be on the Wonderlic?
A 20 is indicated to be about 100. So.
Okay, so 70 would be about 15 to 14?
Yeah, something like that. Doing some napkin math.
So the rapefugees that are pouring into Europe would score about a 14 on the Wonderlic score, which is right there with Adam Jones. I feel like that's a nice way to tie that all in together.
Yeah, and don't call them the new thing, which Roscoe called way back before everybody else, like back in November probably or December.
Before they actually started raping everyone, I was calling them rapefugees, because I've been to Iraq.
And yeah, I mean that's what they were doing. Like these women, like they literally had to run the gauntlet to escape from these North African and Arab men. And of course the police they didn't put anything out in public. I don't know if that's common or not over there. Like they didn't release any statements on it, which it might be the case because they were sexual assaults and they want to keep the
low profile.
Yeah, low profile, which I mean is not a bad thing to do. I mean for the police, but the media knew about this for days and days and days, and they didn't do anything until it blew up on social media. So thank God for social media in this case, bringing this horrible, horrible thing to light.
Like, give you an example of how bad this is, listeners. What was that chick's name who was covering the Arab Spring in Egypt?
Was it Laura Logan?
Laura Logan. Laura Logan was beset upon by a group of these same kind of men, and to this day, ladies and gentlemen, she is still suffering internal bleeding. She said she had.
And that was in April. It was in April of 2011. So
April of 2011, 5 years. And she is still not healed from this assault of these Muslim men who tried to a finger in every single orifice. It went on for over an hour, and she was sure beyond any doubt in her life that she would die. And it's a miracle she didn't.
Yeah. And this is the exact same thing. It's these, there's a reason that the women in Arab countries or Muslim countries aren't allowed out without a male escort because they will get raped and assaulted.
Yeah, I never really put two and two together, as far as what's the full body ninja suit called? Is that the burqa?
Or that might just be the face mask.
Whatever. I'm sorry, Arabs, but I don't give enough a care about your shitty culture.
No, it's the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
That's the burqa?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Man. Well, apology rescinded. Yeah, that's why these women have to wear these ninja costumes. Because these low IQ dudes with poor impulse control will rape the shit out of them.
It's the same thing in India.
Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, Europe and India. A woman can't get on a bus or a train in India without being molested. It's terrible.
But let's complain about the white patriarchy and all these evil white
I guess that's
dudes.
What happens when you dismiss the white man so much that he just says, screw it, take care of it yourself. You want to be equals, take care of it yourself.
Right? The patriarchy was so evil, they put the women and the children on the lifeboats first. That's one thing, I don't want to get too much into it, but when you understand that, what's male fertility? Basically infinite.
Mm-hmm.
And a woman's fertility is very much more limited, correct?
Correct.
Now, as two guys who understand basic market principles, we understand that makes a much higher demand for eggs.
Yes.
And when you look at the high demand for eggs, That explains a whole lot of, pretty much all the way back to chivalry. It's like, Western women, you wanna complain about the patriarchy? Why don't you go spend some time in old Saudi Arabia? Why don't you go to India? Ride the buses. Really really get in there without your tour guides. Go off the beaten path. It's nice knowing you.
Yeah, but the feminists won't say shit about the Muslim rapes because
About Rotherham?
it doesn't fit the narrative. Yeah, exactly. Bringing it back to Rotherham.
Like, Rotherham is what broke me, dude. Like, to see that these people, like, before Rotherham, I was happy to just post anonymously on the internet and, listen to other, podcasts and whatnot. I didn't feel like I needed to get into the fight until I guess I never realized how vile our enemies were until I saw that they were more afraid of being called racist than having their children literally raped.
We touched on this a couple episodes ago, and it's disgusting. It's a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
both the actual act and the cover up.
Like, any group that does not protect their children from that type of predation does not deserve to survive.
Not at all.
Yeah, so neither of us are very happy about this whole rape-fugee situation going on in Europe. That's pretty much the long and short of it.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely check out, Stefan Molyneux's coverage of it. He did a great job of it. I don't know if TRS has done anything on it. But moving on from that, but in the same thing, because of this, and because it is popping up all over Europe now that it happened over New Year's, this had to be organized. This happened in every basically major city that I can see in Europe. And they were, these Muslims were also, firing guns and throwing fireworks in the crowds and throwing bottles in the crowds, and
I'm going to give away a secret that nobody else wants to give away that does these kind of podcasts. I access human intelligence for our shows. And that means I go to the entrance valves of the internet. Not your news sites, not the Twitter. I go deeper. I go to the places where people post completely anonymously. The Chans, we're looking at you. And the type of information that pops up on there, you'll get shit that, in our internet age, things will pop up on there, 2 or 3 days before they'll start appearing on Drudge headlines. It's insane.
Correct.
So, Paul, here's a big shout out to you, all you National Socialist fucking crazy people over there. There's a time and a place for National Socialism, and it was Germany during World War II. There's a meme that's been going around. I don't want to derail us too far, but somebody said that modern white nationalists donning Nazi regalia would have been the equivalent of Hitler whistling Dixie and carrying a Confederate flag.
It's about the same time frame away, right? 60 years or 80 years, I guess.
Yeah, I thought that was. I think that was Ramsey Paul that said that.
It's pretty funny. It works out. Time frames.
Ramsey Paul is just a masterful fucking troll. Dude's great. But the most important thing about the rape-fugee crisis, the rape-fugee crisis going on in Europe right now, which, oh man, how hard was that to see coming, Mr. Stone?
I'm pretty sure we called that in our second episode.
Yep.
Back on December 2nd or something.
And I'm pretty sure anybody listening to us would, probably hear that prediction and completely agree. So I would like to invite our listeners to join me as I sip a tall, cool, bittersweet glass of I Told You So.
Be careful, it might be sour. It's the mash.
it's bitter. It's bitter.
But because of because of this popping up all over Europe, I mean, I have a few links open on this right now. Like right now, Macedonia is blocking off the Balkans, which I mean their border I think is with Greece and who's the other country that they're bordering with? But they're on their border with Greece. They're rolling out 10-foot high razor wire fences. And Hungary I think is already getting ready to expel, if they already haven't done it, all of their
Kicking 'em out.
refugees. Which is good. I mean, this is what needs to happen. This is what should have happened a long, long fucking time ago.
You know what's funny? Who's the leader of Hungary? Is it Orban?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I'm willing to bet $5 that I think it's Viktor Orban. But if you go to www.exodusamericanus.com and you look into the what'd you call it? The Flavicon? The Flavicon?
The favicon. Favicon.
Yeah, up in the corner, you're gonna see friend or progenitor of the alt-right, Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer was thrown into jail by Viktor Orban, who's now tossing the refugees out.
And Macedonia borders Albania. Albania borders on the west, Greece is on the south, Bulgaria is on the east, and Kosovo and Serbia are on the north. So Macedonia is fencing off Greece. I'm not sure about Bulgaria. Bulgaria might already have a fence up. Hungary is pretty far north, a couple hundred miles north of Macedonia, and they are pretty much doing a fence on their entire southern border. I mean, because that borders Romania, Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia.
Oh, here it goes.
And yeah, it's going.
It's going, baby.
Good. We've been saying this for a month and a half now, and we've been saying it for more than that, but we've been talking about
We've been telling you for a month and a half.
Yeah, we've been telling you for a month and a half that this needs to happen. And it's finally going. There's the far right is protesting in Germany, saying Merkel's got to go. I think this is not funny, but kind of indicative of the entire refugee movement. That all these refugees were carrying their papers with them, their asylum papers, and one of the guys got arrested. Or they didn't arrest him. They brought him in to question him. He said, "You can't do anything to us. Mama Merkel invited us here."
Oof. I saw that on Poll earlier today when I was browsing through the catalog. But that brings me back to what I was ranting about a second ago with the human intelligence. They've been posting this shit that people have found that are basically these Arabian rape cheat sheets that are written in whatever, insert pejorative term for Middle Eastern people here.
Booga language
they speak, right?
To quote Daniel Tosh. I don't speak your booga language.
I can't believe that guy's had any mainstream success.
That's the second time we brought him up. He's getting up there with Ellen. Somebody we like to talk about.
What you mean Ellen? Oh shit! We don't have the song ready for any time we mention Elon Musk. This is bullshit. Cancel the podcast.
Gosh.
Fuck everything. Sorry, Ma. That's my first swear of the episode.
I know. I've been trying to cut back on the swears as well. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it makes me feel better.
It's kind of interesting, obviously there's some swearing and some pejoratives, and I may have used some racially charged language in an episode when I was quoting former President Lyndon B. Johnson. So just had a cat try to climb into my lap. It failed, but it did extend the claws.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you're wearing pants. Or it could have been a lot worse.
I'm wearing pants and a robe, and it still got to the skin. Shit. There goes my train of thought.
Yep. I figured.
Oh.
You were talking about LBJ and his racially charged language.
Oh yeah, but my parents listen to a couple of our podcasts. Weird, right? They're like, once we got into it and listened for a little while, it didn't even feel like we were listening to you. It was just informative, well put together radio. And
Good,
I'm not
that's what we
sure
like to
why
hear.
my parents sound like Bronx Jews there for a second.
Sounded like they were listening to NPR.
Roscoe, we're really worried about you. You say some racially charged things on the internet.
What you doing?
Yeah, it's even funnier when most of my lineage is Dutch and Spanish.
And for the last 100 years from the mountains.
Mm-hmm. I'm a direct descendant of Commodore Perry Hazard. And
Impressive.
if somebody thinks they can dox me from Commodore Perry Hazard, good luck, champ, because that dude
Yeah.
got around.
Great Lakes Brewing up in Cleveland has a beer called Commodore Perry. That's really good. It's one of the ones you can buy in stores.
Nice. Nice. So
I'm not drinking that tonight. I'm drinking Natty Light. What are we going to do? This half hour is brought to you by Natty Light. Natty Light. It's potable.
it just tastes better in a shower. That's what Mr. Stone is drinking tonight. So I hit the liquor store last week, and the salesperson is like hitting me with all this shit, and I'm not gonna hide my light under a bushel. I am a genius when it comes to bourbon. And she's trying to sell me on this collector's bottle of a bourbon that's like $30. It's the John Wayne bourbon called the Duke. Like, lady, there's nothing you could tell me about this that I, can't pick up from, looking at the bottle, knowing where it's, basically knowing where the shit actually comes from. But I bought it because I love John Wayne and I'm an American.
God damn it.
Right? It's a little bit.
There's my first swear of the episode, I think.
Nope.
Dropping the GD.
You dropped a few F-bombs earlier.
Did I? Man, I can't remember what I. Obviously, I can't remember what I did 10 minutes ago.
Right? We need
I don't know anything else.
freaking Post-it notes. So, there's some good news going around. Did you hear the good news?
About Jesus Christ?
Well, I mean, that's always good news. But I mean, all right, did you hear the good news for right-wing shitlords?
I don't think I have.
Well, let me read the headline to you. New Hillary emails reveal propaganda, executions, coveting Libyan oil and gold.
I did see that.
Her new, the new shit that's come out from her emails in this investigation. Wowzers.
Damning. And with that, I think we should leave them with a cliffhanger for a minute while I get another can because I might pour myself some rye. We got.
No, 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 no!
Yes,
No, I'm just kidding.
yes.
I also need to take a brief moment before we get into the jeez. I mean, I'm so excited about seeing this shit because it's another example of if you it's a heads we win, tails they lose.
Correct.
Now we're ready for a brief
if you haven't
commercial break.
read that article by Roscoe, it's pretty damn good. You can check that out on our website, ExodusAmericanas.com. You don't even need the www if you don't want to do it. Yeah, if you're that lazy, I know we have a long web address, but if you're that lazy you can't type out the 4 extra letters, then just Exodus Americanas.
I like it. I like it.
All right, guys, we'll catch you back here in just a minute. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the Exodus Americanus, your always constant lighthouse in the fog of liberal detritus. I am Roscoe Snakebite Jones, joined by my stalwart companion, Dr. Mr. The Stone. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to celebrate.
It is indeed. Like I said, I am Dr. Mr. The Stone. We have to add a superlative, I think, every time. Next time I'll be Esquire.
Dr. Mr. The Stone Esquire. No more. We can't push that joke any further now. Otherwise, I can't do it anymore. I've got like 4 more of those to put in top. So,
6, 10, and I'm done.
So if I can quote, shit, I don't remember his name. It's a celebration, Charlie Murphy. Rick James.
The late great Rick James. What I was trying to say there. Ugh. So the good news. Well, we've been talking about, and I'm sure most of our listeners, you guys are well aware of. If you're not, then wake up. Where have you been since July?
Wake up, America.
The Hillary email scandal. And I've always been under the impression
is a light word for treason.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It is treason. If Edward Snowden is guilty of treason, then Hillary is guilty of treason in spades, because Edward Snowden released it to everybody. Hillary Clinton was actively sabotaging the United States while she was Secretary of State. And for a while, yeah.
How do you feel about Barack Hussein Obama? How do you feel about him?
Golly gee.
Would you say that you don't care for him?
He is just the greatest. He is the bee's knees.
I think he's 10 pounds of feces stuffed into a 5-pound bag. But
and lit on fire.
The president, who I think is a huge piece of shit, thought that Sidney Blumenthal was too big of a piece of shit to work for the United States government. So what?
And he was banned from contact with the State Department.
So what Hill
does? The state. I think the State Department was banned from actually talking to him, not the other way around. You can't really ban a citizen from talking to a government agency, I don't think. But what did Hill Dog do? She goes in and
makes him rich off of fucking contracts in Libya, for starters. Gives him shit tons of information that is wait, wasn't there a header on that before that it got forwarded to Sid? What'd that header say, Mr. Dr. The Stone?
What did it actually say? I'm just trying to find out. That's what I am trying to find out.
Oh, well,
basically, everybody knows that she used her private server for top secret, just all of her communication while she was Secretary of State. And this, the server was basically held in a garbage can.
Yeah, like fucking trigger warning. We have more operational security than the Secretary of State did.
Yeah, I'm sure our passwords are much more complex than... She does belong in a garbage can. And obviously, if it's not against the rules to use your own server for this. You just can't transfer confidential or secret or any other classification of confidential or secret through that server. You could use it through everyday email, but anything that is confidential or could even remotely be seen or interpreted as confidential that's what's illegal.
Let me throw down some knowledge on
yes, you are the one. You're the one with the secret clearance.
Whoa, easy there, killer. I'm a veteran, and I did have a security clearance at one point. I had the lowest security clearance, but even as a jack-off infantryman, and don't want to go into too much more, but had a pretty low security clearance. Anybody understood? Like, there's a lot of shit that civilians don't know about. Like, if a document is, has one of these clearances on it, all of a sudden there's a shit ton of like there's all kinds of things that like suddenly have to be applied like to the security of where the secure information is being held. Like it's not just the document has to be like hidden inside your shirt pocket at all times. Like if you're holding classified information, there's a massive amount of security that the facilities have to have that you don't get in a freaking bathroom.
Some private
People
IT company in Colorado who stored their server in a bathroom closet.
The secretary of a piece of shit IT firm was taking her dumps and playing Angry Birds next to some of the most classified information involving the locations of combat troops, the identities and operations of undercover assets. Yeah, she's dropping her deuce right next to that information in a bathroom.
And the most explosive part about this, of course, we both thought that nothing was going to happen in 2015 about this. James Comey, who was the director of the FBI, loved both by the right and the left, just for his, him being an awesome dude, not caving into political pressure. He's going to go after the people who need to go after, whether they are conservative, liberal,
Bro did the right communist thing. He's got a history of doing the right thing.
Yes, he's pretty much the best person, right? That I could even imagine to be the director of the FBI. And so he was going to, if he thinks that Hillary Clinton needs to be charged, then he's going to recommend charges to the Department of Justice. If he doesn't think that she should, then she wouldn't. And I would, if he doesn't recommend charges, then I would completely understand that. But I would also probably think that there's some political pressure involved, even though he's never appeared to cave to it in his past. So I would give him the benefit of the doubt in that case. But with the Sidney Blumenthal things and what she faxed it's a felony. What she did is a felony. She ordered a staffer to strip the classification markings off of this email or document or whatever it was and fax it
to someone that the White House told her that she is not allowed to share information with.
And of course, what he pops up time and time and time again in her emails. Someone who she was banned from contacting. And it just because she ordered a staffer to do it, makes it no different than if she did it herself. It is
exactly
like now.
Well, one thing
now the only thing that we were talking about in 2015 is if Comey recommends charges, will the Department of Justice actually pursue it? Now it looks like they have to. Like there's nothing that they can hide behind now.
Well, that's one thing well, all right, here, hold on a second. Take two. One of the more important things to consider when analyzing or predicting these kind of outcomes is precedent. And from a game theory perspective, you always want to look at what are winning conditions. If Hillary wins out on this, the FBI is basically no longer able to prosecute people for leaking, selling, distributing classified information. Like that's the big dog in this fight that most people don't even realize is there. Like I realize the Clintons are big, but when you tell the FBI like, "Hey, we got to let this chick off," and therefore tie your hands, and basically that's what the FBI is there for. You're zip tying the FBI to the steering wheel and pushing the car off the cliff. Like I've heard from a few different places, from a few different sources, that if there isn't if the DOJ doesn't move forward proceedings against Hill Dog, there's going to be a revolt in the FBI.
And that is not going to work out well for the Department of Justice. Who does the American people trust? Do they trust the FBI? Absolutely. Do they trust the Department of Justice, especially
Yeah.
during the Obama administration with his lackeys? No, not
The
in the least.
DOJ that spent money to get protesters ready for the Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown riots, that DOJ, or the FBI? Yeah.
The FBI has a. I've never heard anybody talk shit about the FBI. They have a sterling reputation. I mean, because they keep putting people who are classy, competent individuals at the top.
Yeah.
It's not like the CIA or the Secret Service.
Like, I wanted to talk shit about James Comey, so I did some digging into his record and, his history and stuff. And the worst thing I can say about James Comey is he's too tall. He may not have always ruled the way that I would like for him to have ruled, but the only thing I'd say about him is the bastard. What is he, 6'8"?
I don't know. He's a big guy.
It's ridiculous. But so this is one of my favorite types of scenarios, what I like to call a heads we win, tails they lose scenario. If the FBI has to prosecute, like, if the DOJ has to prosecute Hillary Clinton over this, she's going down. Like, there's no way that she can survive it. No feasible way whatsoever. But what happens if the DOJ just stays 100% political and doesn't prosecute? That's going to radicalize a whole lot of people.
Yeah. Then that 20% of Democrats who affected Trump will be more like 80%.
Mm-hmm. It's how
people don't like the Clintons already. I mean, that's something that doesn't come up in the polls. Like I know that they talk about Trump, how Trump is like nobody in the Republican Party's second choice, but Hillary is very few people's first choice and negative people's second choice.
Let me throw something down on you real quick. I don't want to open too big of a can of worms, but Hillary has been riding Bill's coattails for her whole quote unquote political career, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the journalists of today are not the same. The journalists of yesteryear, like when Clinton was basically bringing a late Roman degeneracy into the White House, they were lock stock for the Clinton war machine. Like, whether it was, weak, pathetic guys who thought it was great that Bill was able to get away with it, or people who were, just such people with no moral backbone were like, well, it's not a big deal. Nobody was willing to hold his balls to the fire on that. But like now, think about these radicalized journalists who are basically Tumblr feministas. That like calling them ma'am is an outrage. Like, how are they going to feel about Bill Clinton biting a woman's lip, punching her in the face, and saying, I can do whatever I want to you. Nobody will ever believe you. Like, how's that going to play out to these crazed feminists?
Probably the same way that the rape Jews played out, or Laura Logan played out, where they ignore her or blame her. That, there can't be any victim blaming unless it's someone from across the aisle.
Well, dude, I don't know if you've seen Clinton lately. Like, some of these shitty CNN quote-unquote news girls have been giving him grief. And I've never seen Bill Clinton look out of sorts before.
You're talking about like the New Hampshire rally?
Yeah, like the dude was like, "More." Wait, hold on. What was he like? He was like, what? Sorry, a little bit of delay on that. Like, I've never seen Slick Willie look out of sorts.
He's getting old.
He's getting old. The rules have changed. Like, I feel like the brainwashing of ultra sensitivity will override being in the tank for the Democrats and Bill. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but it'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Just stay tuned to Jezebel. If you want to see the shit go down, I would just say watch Jezebel. If once Hillary beats out, because I mean, Gawker media is in the tank for mainly Bernie because they're a bunch of socialists who, they didn't want to get charged, they didn't want to pay taxes in the U.S., so they incorporated into Grand Cayman because everybody should pay their fair share except for what's his name, Nick.
The Treasury Secretary?
No, the head of Gawker, Nick Denton.
Oh, jeez. You almost
you know,
made me go on a long tirade of swears there just by saying the name Nick Denton.
The socialists that want everybody else to pay their fair share, but when it comes to theirs, they'll run off to the Grand Cayman where they don't have to pay taxes, or Ireland where they don't have to pay any taxes. But you hardworking Americans, you hardworking white Americans, you need to pay your fair share. Stop being so fucking racist.
And greedy, you greedy bastards. But that's the typical. Take two. That is the typical limousine liberals. Good for me, but not for thee. Like
do as I say, not as I do.
The president will talk all day long about gun bans, but you think he will ever disarm the Secret Service? No.
No, he's the one who signed the Secret Service, or the president's Secret Service staff up for life.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be like 10 years or 15 years after your presidency, you would get Secret Service protection. But what did good old Barack do? He did it for the rest of their life. So he wants that gun protection, but he doesn't want you to be able to protect yourself.
And I think that's pretty interesting and pretty consistent.
You're not allowed to smoke, but he can. You're not allowed to be fat, but Michelle is.
You're not allowed to be a dude and dress in a dress and call yourself a woman, but Michelle is. Wait. Look, we're not trying to say that Michelle is a man, but I'm just saying I don't know many women that can palm a basketball. So what does, I'm interested to hear your opinion on this. I'm super excited, actually. What does an FBI revolt look like?
Ooh, I've thought about that, and I think there's just so many different ways. I know it's kind of like a cop-out answer, but I'm not trying it to be. There's just so many different ways I can see that going down. Like they could just refuse to move forward with any investigations. They could, use FBI. Like I said, especially Comey has huge political clout. They could, they could just go to Congress and, or for the next 10 months, it's controlled by Republicans, so they could just stop any other appointees completely that Obama is trying to, because he's already put up a shit ton of federal court judges and all that stuff who are, federal court judges are appointed for life for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
I sidetrack or rabbit trail, whatever you want to call on that. I understand the point of having federal judges without term limits, but there needs to be. It can be a really high term limit. Make it 15 years, 20 years, but it can't be for life.
No,
because these people just ride it out until the next person in their political spectrum is there, and then they retire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bad game.
How what's gonna make you celebrate harder? Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying, or Hillary Rodham Clinton being marched out of a federal building in handcuffs?
Hell dog, for sure.
Like, national holiday. Like, if you're anywhere to the right of, friggin' Trotsky, Hillary going to prison ought to make you celebrate like friggin' Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, I am. I don't care when it is. It could be the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
In the busiest time at work. I'd be like, sorry, boss man.
Send somebody in for me. I'm out. Like, wherever I am, I'm stopping what I'm doing. I'm going to the nearest tavern and getting just rip-roaringly wasted. And then, whether it's by taxi cab or by the goodwill of some stranger when I make it home, I'm calling Dr. Mr. The Stone on Skype for us to begin our Shitlord Celebration Hill Dog Going to Prison podcast.
Special. Of the century.
Of the week.
Carl's lockdown pick of the century. Of the week.
That's what we need. We need some good Aqua Teen drops.
That's true.
Hey, I like you. I think I'm going to rape you.
Hey, yeah, if our listeners haven't seen the Ham Banana episode of Aqua Teen, it is the best thing you'll ever watch today. No. And tomorrow. No. You're a liar.
I am a liar.
You're a liar, Consuelo. Yeah, you got Ham Banana, you got Fried Aliens. You've got the first, I don't know what the name of the episode is, but it's the very first one where it's like they're up in space and it's a special meeting of all the enemies. We know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Rabbit. Destructo Rabbit or whatever it's called.
So anyway, moving on past the old FBI revolt, I made the prediction a couple years ago that shit was going to start getting weird. And I feel like, me saying, shit is going to get weird should have been like me putting my, handkerchief over the crystal ball and not trying to divine the future anymore. Because I've been right on a lot. But there's been so much shit that I've not seen. Like, Trump, just completely dominating the GOP race. Didn't see that coming.
He's got as much in like Iowa, maybe not Iowa, but New Hampshire as the next 3.5 people combined.
Brutal. So one of the things that I think crops up not often enough in I think when you talk about the let's call it the collapse, I feel like that's something that people talk about in podcasts that are a little bit more silly than ours. You know what I mean?
To put it lightly.
Yeah, to put it lightly. Like, we try to keep all of our shit, like, pretty well grounded in stuff that we can, put our hands on. But the collapse is a lot of speculation. I think, when I was becoming politicized, I didn't think that I would ever see a balkanization of the United States in my lifetime. I thought that'd be something for my kids. But in the last year and a half, I've seen, with the immigration into Europe and the reactions to that, and Charlie Homo? Is that it?
Hebdo.
Charlie Homo, right. With Charlie Homo and the Paris shootings and, something we mentioned before, that train attack. If those Americans hadn't stopped that train attack in France, that's another, 150, 200 people just murdered by the by the Islamic terrorists. So, yeah.
And since it was on a train, they might have just got off scot-free, just at the next stop, just hopped off, ran away. Never would have found him. Instead, we had to go save France's ass again.
I had a relative who actually fought in France in World War II. And he died when I was pretty young. And I heard the stories when I was young and heard them again secondhand. But he talked about the average French citizen, how they felt. Like, they just felt so sold out by their government. By their government that rolled over like whores for these invaders. And, if we want to talk about later on how France fucked themselves over in World War I by not preparing for trench warfare, and then fucked themselves over in World War II by not preparing for, like, the Panzers that came rolling in, that would be fun. But
Before World War One, they didn't do shit. After World War One, they built a bunch of trenches, which the Germans immediately just drove around in their
well,
tanks.
no, they thought because they looked at the Civil War in the U.S. and they thought they were ready going into World War One. They thought they were ready.
50 years of progress, nothing to show for it.
Nothing. But
30 years of progress, nothing to show for it.
But despite, being sold out by their aristocracy and elites, the French people, whether it was with a pitchfork or, a broken broom handle, they were fighting panzer units in the street, men, women, and children. And as somebody who always tends to root for the plucky underdog, that's hard not to get cold chills from. Telling the invaders, fuck you, this is my home. I feel like that's something everybody should be able to relate to. But there's a lot of differing opinions. Like, you and I are someone who are, we always sort of keep an eye on the stocks and stuff just for. You can divine a lot of information out of stock markets.
Correct.
And if we were making our predictions based on, legal framework and history and common sense, the collapse should have happened like in 2009. Like, to try to predict when the financial collapse is going to happen, you need to be able to accurately estimate the greed and larceny and ambition of people who are not held accountable by any governments. Like, how far will they go to keep the house of cards up? Well, as far, when you hear, was it Greenspan who said, yeah, we're like, I think it was on some stupid CNN interview. He's basically like, yeah, the Congress can't really do shit to us. He's like, we're completely independent. Eat shit. Fuck off. Go away.
Good old Alexander Hamilton and the Fed.
Whew. I think my favorite president, Andrew Jackson, had the right idea. I killed the banks. And fuck Indians. Look, that's harsh. And maybe it'll be something we can go into on another podcast. But the Indians earned the ire of the Europeans. Like, they killed cities of like 100,000 in raids during, like, coming down out of Canada, just murdering the shit out of people. It's insane. Can't learn about that in high school, though.
No, that's racist.
But I think...
And white people can't experience racism.
Now, how long did it take the Roman Empire to collapse? Like 400 years?
From its peak to its, till it was gone, yeah.
Well, no, not from the peak, but when it hit its zenith to the decline. I think it was a few hundred years. It wasn't a quick thing, the collapse of Rome.
No, they held it together just by being
just the infrastructure alone.
The most dominant force the world had ever seen.
And that's one thing, one thing of interest is that the infrastructure that the Romans built that stayed behind after they left enabled so much Islamic proliferation into that region. Like when those conquerors actually came, that infrastructure was still there, but the empire was gone.
Conversely, it also accelerated the ascendance of the Anglos.
Very true, very true. But my point being, like, without trying to dig, for too much historical reference, it seems like every time a great empire collapses, it's a little faster than the last one. And whether you want to attribute that to the the faster moving of information, the moving of wealth or a treasury was a much different undertaking for the Romans than it is for the bankers of today. The bankers still don't have our echo effect. The bankers of today. So
Yeah, I mean it's a lot easier to click a button and transfer trillions of dollars than it is to cart a million around in gold coins.
right. But even still, a collapse of the American empire isn't going to happen overnight. First thing you're going to notice, you're going to have the little rolling blackouts. You're going to have to keep your power off certain times. The street lights aren't going to come on anymore. The potholes aren't going to be patched. It's just going to be just the accumulation of all those little things like that. The collapse isn't just a binary function. It is a slow gradient. Probably quite a bit faster than the fall of the Soviet Union, but definitely not overnight.
Yeah, definitely not overnight. I mean, this is a good topic to I think have a serial on, like a mini series.
Hmm.
Do a few half hours of what will lead, what are the precursors, what's going to happen, and then whether that's war or
economic indicators.
Yeah.
Certain nations defaulting in certain places. Certain nations bonds suddenly losing their value on the world market. There's lots of little when you start looking, is this house of cards going to come down? You almost can't list all the cards that are on that bottom layer. If each card is a symptom of the what's holding the house up, or a one of the legs that the house is standing on, there's not enough names to name all the cards down there.
Yeah, and you could lose one, you could lose two, depending on if there's 100, you could lose maybe 10 of them, and the top
the
will
house
be
will
rickety.
Still stay up.
It'll still stay up. You lose two that are touching. You lose a major economic power, and then you lose another major country, defaulting on their bonds, like you said, and those are the ones touching. That entire thing comes down.
All of a sudden, a couple of those load-bearing walls just give out. But how can you be? I think the most important thing, this is this is us wrapping up. Like, say you're preparing for a huge collapse, a reshuffling of the deck. What's the most important thing to take with you into that? The will to live. The determination that, by God, you have the right to survive. And that when you go out of this world, you're going to go out on your terms. It's that stubborn human element of hell no, not like this.
I can dig it.
All right, man. I think, I feel like
that was great.
Right? Great
perfect.
place to leave on.
Yeah, and we kept it short. I mean, we were just barely over like an hour 10. This is great.
Perfect. Like, that's sort of what we shoot for, hour 45 minutes.
Yeah. So this is good. This is good. I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover. Obviously, like we said, the collapse is
it's a teaser.
Yeah. It's got it. I mean, it has to be. It's way too complex of a topic. I mean, this isn't like something in the news that'll pop up and it's something, we can discuss for 15 minutes and then move on to the next thing that popped up today.
It's not like we can give you just like, hey, watch out for this one thing, and when this one thing happens, run for the hills.
No, this is endemic.
It is a gradient.
This is going to happen. It's just a matter of how and when.
Mm-hmm.
And we can give you some stuff to be on the lookout for, like we said. But
like
we can't. If you believe someone who says they can predict exactly how and when it's going to happen, then we have a bridge to sell you.
Look, I'm
in Brooklyn.
I feel like when the American Empire collapses, it's going to be the greatest collapse and probably one of the most calamitous events in all of human history. I'm not saying that's up there with Jesus coming back, but as a Christian, I feel like that's one of those things we'll put in the file under, ain't nobody predicting that. What's the verse about not a wise man or a fool can predict the hour or the time? Same thing with this. We can't you can't even give a time frame because we don't know how many laws that these assholes will break to print more money, to run their QE, to basically force public risk of their gambling. Like, we don't know how far they can get away with it.
Yeah, when I win the Powerball and my 1.3 billion on Wednesday, I want to earmark my taxes. Can you do that? Like when you give money to a charity, you can restrict it to how you want it to go. Can I do that with the government, or does it just go right into the general fund?
See, and that's we mentioned Stefan Molyneux earlier, and that's one of his arguments that just sticks in my teeth against having any state mechanism, is that the state will always use your money in morally apprehensive ways. Ugh.
If you want more information on that, check out our throwing us under the omnibus episode. That would.
Oh, play us out. I'm gonna be sick. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to Exodus Americanus. This has been our most recent episode, episode 8, I believe. Well, it's definitely our most recent episode. I never keep track of what number it is, just because it all blends together, man. When all you see are just spikes on a I don't even know what it's called.
I feel like I've gotten to the point where I read the news like a radar, and it's not necessary. Like, the information and stuff contained therein doesn't really matter. But the ripples that it sends across the pond are what matter. The ripples across the surface of the water are what I'm charting. Like, the president's town hall, who gives a shit?
No, it was more fun to make fun of him than it was to actually argue with him.
No, I get nothing out of arguing with that clown.
And we also have a Twitter account now. At Exo Americanus. It was too long to get the full thing in there, so
if you actually look up Exodus Americanus, it'll take you. And I think Dr. Mr. The Stone is running the Exodus Americanus account. I'm running a Roscoe Jones account. It's a little bit more of a loose cannon than our official account. I'm sure.
And I've got another. I got my own account personally at Mr. Stone Exo.
Yes, I knew it.
So look us up on there, SoundCloud.com/Exodus Americanus, and as always, mostly visit us on our website, ExodusAmericanus.com. Click that donate button, click those ads, give us some of those monies.
Oh man, I was gonna say this is the least amount of shekel shuffling we've done.
I know, we only did it at the end today.
Yeah. But guys, if you like what we're doing, throw us a couple of shekels. Not trying to get rich here, we're trying to fucking cover some overhead.
Yeah. It's not cheap, let's just put it that way. But anyways, we always sound so sad. Oh my god. The end of the times. Thanks guys for listening. Roscoe, thank you again for always being here. It's always good to talk to you. And we will, what's tonight? It's Sunday night, really early Monday morning.
Oh.
We will try to hit you up at the end of the week. So, thanks guys for listening. Bye-bye.
See ya.